What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dripping Creativity Podcast. My name is Chris Corvan. I am your host, and today we are sitting here with the amazing and talented Mac. I've known Mac for a couple months now, and they are absolutely tremendous. I can't believe how amazing they are. I found out things during this thing that I didn't even know before. It was amazing. I loved it. It was so much fun. In the meantime, don't forget to check out the Wednesday shows, and we have so many more cool things happening. Just wait. But until we get to that, let's get right into this fantastic conversation that will reignite your creative spirit. Mac, why don't you tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Oh my God, everybody. Well, my name is Mac. Well, that's not my name, but that's how I want to be called, I guess. And actually, my name comes from a very popular song. I don't know if you heard about it, the Macarena. And I think, yeah, that's interesting. And I think I'm a writer. I don't know, like that's what I do for a living, and that's what I do when I have some free time. And I am probably way more than that, but that's all that comes to mind right now.
Okay, well, definitely not probably a writer. You are a writer. You are a published writer.
That's true.
With many published things. When I went through and, was stalking you a little, and I was like, oh, they have released so many things, and it's amazing. I didn't realize the amount of really cool projects you have done and completed, and we're going to talk about these things.
Woo!
So we're going to end off with Arlo, because that is the one that I'm most familiar with and I absolutely love.
Okay.
But first I want to kind of get to know everything else, starting with nostalgia. Let's talk about nostalgic.
Oh. Okay, well, Nostalgic was a book that I came out with by the end of the pandemic. It was a book that took me like about 2 to 3 years to write. And it's just basically a poetry book that goes from the first stages of you breaking up with somebody and having that daydream, that illusion that everything was perfect with the relationship, and kind of going through that, just remembering the relationship like something that was amazing and perfect, and then going through the other stages that are like, okay, I still miss you, but maybe it wasn't that perfect. You kind of remembering things a little bit more how they were, and then at the end basically is whatever feeling you got that was positive is still with you. You still have that care, that love, but you definitely are at a place where you can move on from that. And the first time I wrote it, I sent it to a couple friends, and it had like good reviews, like people would tell me like, oh, it reminds me of my first love. And I thought that was great. I was like, like, oh yeah, it made you cry, like, woo. So it's funny also because everything that you see written in it, it's actually my letter. Like I went I did the procedure, to digitalize my own handwriting. But right now, like I read the book a little while ago, a couple months ago, and I see it and I cringe a little bit, like as a writer, I see it and it doesn't reflect anything of who I am today and the way I see relationships today and the way that I go through relationships today. But it happens. It's there. I'm a little bit embarrassed about it. I don't actually think it's good.
Well, I haven't read it yet, and I'm going to pick it up now that I know it exists. But I think that whole concept of looking back and feeling that cringe is actually extremely important as a writer, as a creator, to be able to go, that is how I used to think. I don't anymore, but it's a nice little time capsule to what was, and I think having something like that is super important, and especially when it comes to themes of heartbreak and love and all of that. As you may know, with some of the stuff that I throw up on threads there, I'm a huge fan of that whole topic. So it's I love the process of falling in love, losing love, missing the love, and then that bittersweet realization that you're over it.
Yeah.
I think that's such an amazing journey that is so unique to just humans in general, that having a time capsule like Nostalgic here is a fantastic idea, and I'm very excited to pick it up. So I'm glad I know it exists now. You really need to be promoting this stuff more, man. I didn't know any of this stuff.
I know. I'm just not good at promoting my work, and I think it's because like I tried to when they came out, and it kind of didn't work. I don't know. So I was just like, oh, they're there. Like they exist, and if somebody asks me about them, I don't promote them, but I'm like, yeah, they're there. And for Nostalgic, like, I don't know what to say about it, but at least that I am like demisexual and stuff. So also seeing that transition, from how we see romantic relationships, it's so important to me, because for me, that dreamland of just thinking about somebody without actually knowing them, the first months of relationships are so important to encapsulate, because it can be really good for you to be a daydreamer, in romantic relationships, or it can end really, really bad, because at the end of the day, they do create expectations. And for a demisexual, that can be very dangerous. And I think Nostalgic kind of encapsulates that for me, at least, and I just wanted to comment that, because I also think it's very interesting how we do fall in love, and we do create these goals and dreams towards someone, towards a relationship, and that involves so much more than communication and trust, and for me, love is about the dream possibilities,
Definitely.
So unfair for the other person.
No, but all of that
for
is
the other people.
Exactly. All of that is super important, especially just as a learning experience for yourself, and helping you become the next version of yourself is super important, to understand what you were going through, why you were feeling it, and being able to describe it in a way that you can go, oh, I don't do that anymore. And the growth among it, that's so good. I can't wait. I'm very excited to read that one. All right,
my God.
So then let's move down the list, and then we have I Found You. It sounds very charming. So what inspired kind of this idea of imagining scenarios where animals find their favorite objects?
Well, basically, again, it was a pandemic. Most of these I wrote in the pandemic, and I had a Instagram account for my poetry, and I did it because I was just so afraid of getting my writing out there. And there was this huge discussion in my Instagram account for other poets and poetry in general, that poetry had to rhyme. And my poetry doesn't rhyme. I'm not good at it. It's not that I don't like it, I'm just not good at it, so I don't do it. So I tried to rhyme in the poems for I Found You. That was my main goal. It didn't work. Most of them don't actually rhyme. So, and but I just thought it was adorable to see these little animals finding objects and having like a little rhyme in the process. And I worked with a really talented illustrator. His name is Alex, and I've always wanted to work with him. So for me, it was just like, oh, here are these poems. They are fun. They have animals. They have objects on them. And could you do some illustrations for me? And he was like, oh my God, yes, this is awesome. So we did that, and I released it.
Honestly, that's some of the best creations come out of that, where it's just like, I want to do this thing. I have no idea if it's going to work out, but I need to get it out of my brain and just into everything else. And I love that. I'm another one that just, for the artwork alone, because even checking out the Amazon link, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. And
I know.
Holy crap. And then, add on your brain on top of that with the poems and stuff. I'm very excited for that one too. I learned more about you for researching this than talking with you for the past couple months. And it's like, I didn't know anything about this.
I'm a very shy person.
Because these are all so
Well,
amazing projects, and it's yeah. So then that moves on to Philippa and her red hat, which is a
Oh yeah,
children's story, I believe,
it
about a
is. It
cat or
is.
about a cow and her collection of hats.
Yes, hats are very important. You know.
Definitely. So, what
Um.
where did this idea come from, and what drew you to wanting to get it done?
mm, when I can't fall asleep, I tell myself little stories. I've done that since I'm a kid. So basically, like I can't sleep, so I tell myself little stories. Basically, with animals, as you can see, I have a thing for animals. And one night, I told myself a little story about a cow. She basically had this collection of hats, and she was missing her favorite hat, so she goes on a little adventure, and at the end she gains a friend that also likes hats. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna write this. So the other day I just went on a document, I wrote it, I sent it to one of my best friends. She's also an amazing illustrator. She used to be my student. I taught her screenwriting at this university I used to teach. And I just told her, like, hey, I think this story would really match your style. Would you be okay with, collaborating with me and whatever I owe, like, I paid her, but at the same time, I told her, like, whatever I make of profit, we can share it. And she was like, don't worry about it, paying me is enough. And she basically did this amazing art for Felipa. And yeah, I just love it. That's my favorite book, actually, Felipa. And the art is just so cute,
good.
and I know. And when I released it, I was able to make a campaign for it that my other friends, my other illustrator friends, could draw Felipa in their styles. So like I got a lot of images of little Felipa at the end, and Felipa just amazing. I can't wait to like have a tattoo of her or something.
Definitely. Well, yeah, no, and again, it was another one of those things where the art, I saw the art, I'm like, oh, that's just, the style alone is absolutely beautiful and absolutely gorgeous, and oh, I'm very excited, and knowing that, well, it's not too often you think about a cow in a hat. You really don't, and then you're like, no, that would actually be adorable. Every aspect of that would be adorable. So.
Yeah, I feel like every animal would look adorable with hats. There's so many like TikTok videos of just like
Definitely.
animals with little hats.
Yep.
So why not a cow?
Exactly. So then from there we go into the one that I personally just love the name of. I think this one is very right up my alley there. Void in the Onyx Bowl. It sounds like a very lovely bedtime story. Where
It does.
was this something, another one of the stories that you kind of told yourself, or did this come from something else?
No, this was actually on the Facebook times, when Facebook was popular. One of my students actually uploaded a dream that she had about three little kittens, and she kind of like described a little bit about this dream. And I read it and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And I asked her permission. I was like, hey, is it okay if I develop this into a short story? I really, really like it. I developed it into a short story in the same hour. I was like so inspired, and I sent it to her, and she was like, oh my God, this is so good. Let me like make some illustrations for it. And I was like, yeah, go ahead. And she got excited and she was like, this should be a book. Like we should sell this, like self-publish this. And we did. That was my first self-published book. And she had some contacts. So we basically heard someone reading this book to children. It was a pandemic, so everything was online. And I don't know, it was just so adorable to see the little children like hearing the book. And I have immense love for Void being my first book. We used to have plans to kind of like redesign it, and maybe rewriting it again. It hasn't happened, but hopefully in the future.
I think it's just so cute just thinking about it. Oh, love it. I love it so much. So actually then going back to way back to not even the books, before that, the student teacher thing, talk more about your teaching and what you teach.
I used to teach screenwriting for a college and some courses, for screenwriting, creative writing. Basically, I used to teach other students how to create their own animated shows so they can pitch it to Cartoon Networks or Nickelodeon, stuff like that. And the basics of screenwriting, which is something that everybody should know if you're going through a more creative animation kind of career. I loved it. It's definitely like one of my passions, something I want to get back to it. I was so happy just teaching. And also because I don't know how to explain this, but I used to teach the students that were just leaving high school, so it was high school and their first semester of college. So they were still like teenagers. There were a lot of things that caught them by surprise, like their parents accepting that they wanted to study art, having their first romantic relationship, being in a room with other people that wanted to study art, maybe the first time that they met people that had their same interests. So it was also a very psychological kind of job, and sometimes like a student would come crying and say like, oh, I had my first fight with my boyfriend, so I don't know if I'm gonna go in today. So, you had to talk to them and like try to express that life was so big and they were going to have so many experience, and also the trauma behind writing, because some students really come from a place where they hated English, they hated literature, they hated writing. Their teachers would call them like stupid or bad writers, So you kind of have to grab that trauma and be like, no, whatever you heard is wrong. I'm pretty sure you're a good writer. You just weren't taught the right tools, So I had so many students come up to me and being like, oh, I used to hate writing, but the way you teach it, like I fell in love again. I think I want to be a writer. And for me, that's it. Like, you don't remember the basics about screenwriter, that's fine, but you write on your own. You like writing. The trauma is gone. Perfect. My job is done.
Yeah, well, it's very much giving them another tool to have within them. And even if they don't remember it immediately, those types of lessons always come back to you, right? Like I know way long ago, things that I thought I forgot. And then when I got back into writing, it's like, oh, right, there's this and this. And it's all such a valuable thing. And for you to be that type of mentor for kids and people in general, I think is amazing. And I love that. Are you thinking of doing kind of one-on-one classes or anything like that sometime soon?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always open for someone to reach out and be like, hey, and I've been trying to get some writing courses for free. Hopefully they work out, because, teaching is just not about the money for me anymore. It's just about being able to give those tools to people. And come on, like, how writing can be. Like, it can be a tool for you to like express your feelings, express your situation. It can be fun. It can be so many things. So, just
writing to me is because I don't consider myself a writer. I write, but I don't consider myself a writer. And I
come on.
No, because I focus more on the visual aspect of things, right? Like filmmaking, digital media, like I write because I need to write, but I also enjoy writing. And that's kind of the outlet I have, like with all the stuff I have going on. Those little single post stories that I do are like my little outlet into the world, where it's like I have to create something, so I'm gonna make this tiny little story because I need to create them. And it's been even that alone has been a great teaching tool, because it's like, okay, I have this idea that's like 500 for 1,000 characters, and I need to condense it down to 500. And it's just one of those little things that you pick up and you run with. And for you to be wanting to share that with people and encourage that is, I mean, me, I'm all about encouraging people. So I think that's awesome. Yeah. And I can't wait to help you in any way we can, for sure, because we're behind you
Yeah.
100% on that. Okay,
Yeah.
so then from there, let's talk about Arlo.
Oh my God, let's talk about Arlo.
I love
That's
Arlo.
that should be the name of the book. Let's talk about
Let's
Arlo.
talk
You love
because
Arlo.
I do. Like from the very first chapter you posted. So okay, to roll it back, Arlo's boob.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of a romantic demisexual story, with a whole lot of themes and emotions, with amazing characters. So why don't you start by telling us about the characters?
Okay, so as you well know, we have Arlo. They are my main character, and they are this non-binary human. Important to say, and they don't know much about their inner world. They feel it, but they don't know how to express it. They don't truly know how to communicate what's inside. And that makes them, I don't think it makes them lonely, but it certainly makes them frustrated. And that frustration kind of leaks into everything that they do, into their little actions. And that's Arlo for me. It was important for me that Arlo's frustration doesn't come from being non-binary. I wanted to write a character that was way out of the closet in that regard. I didn't want to talk a lot about sexuality or gender or the expression of their gender. I just wanted them to be out and about, without those frustrations. I think their frustrations come from another place, from the fact that they never learn what to do with their feelings besides feeling them and keeping them inside, and that's Arlo for me. And then of course we got Gwen, that is a ghost. She passed away, and it's funny because I think Gwen had this same kind of childhood as Arlo did, like a very not being seen kind of childhood, but at the same time, she expressed it in another way. She was on the other spectrum of things. She didn't feel seen, but she thought she could pretend to be like happy and extroverted, and she was always the life of the party, like popular girl, getting good grades and just having fun with everybody. And that was just like a shell. At the end of the day, I think Gwen always felt she was not being true to herself. She didn't have a place, or nobody truly cared to know her, and she made a really tough decision, and yeah, she became a ghost. And the way they complement each other is that I do feel they are frustrated by something. Like maybe Gwen is a little bit more expressive about her feelings, but I'm not sure she's expressive about the right feelings or her honest feelings. There's a reason why she might be the life of the party even though she's a ghost, but at the same time she never truly confronts Arlo about how she feels. She still decides to be a little bit passive about this love she has for Arlo. And those are the main characters.
and overall, when someone is to pick up this book, what sort of theme are you wanting them to kind of register with?
We were talking about love earlier, and I think what's important is we have a lot of love stories where we have the happy ever after. And I love that representation. Of course, there's love and happy ever after. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I think we need a little bit more representation of it was love and there was a happy ever after. It just didn't involve them getting together, because you do get happy. Like, you eventually do have a happy life, but maybe it's not with that person. And that's what I want to do, a more realistic approach to love and all of their like little things.
the ups and downs of life, and love. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
So you're writing your books, everything else. It definitely has a lot of emphasis on self-reflection and internal growth. Is that something that you yourself have worked on quite a lot, or is that just something that you feel everyone needs to do?
No, it's just something, as you well know, I have autism, so one of the sides of being in the spectrum for me is just this very obsession with the person that I am and how I act and why do I act that way or why do I feel that way. Like I have a very hyperfixation in human interaction and human everything, because I don't actually get it. So it's a little bit easier for me to study it. And I think in that study, it, like it's me and myself. So I'm the main subject of my study. And I just want to be a good person, to be honest. Like I grew up with not very good people, and it was very confusing to me how you get to be an adult and just be shitty. So I think it was a very big worry for me as a kid to become a good adult. And of course that doesn't exist, because there's black and white and gray. There's no such thing as a good person, but for me it was very important to get there. So that self-reflection comes from there, from just being like, okay, yes, I can make mistakes and I can, hurt somebody maybe, but let's try to make it something that happens and not something that I was aiming for, that is cruel. And I'm the type of writer that cannot write from fiction. I don't have that kind of imagination, I guess. I don't have the tools of world building, Dungeons and Dragons. So I always write from what I feel or from what I felt and from what I've seen and experienced. So maybe that's why my books are a little bit more connected to that, because I just want to write it down and understand and just be curious about it and try to see if other people feel that way too,
Definitely. Well, yeah, no, and for me, I think it's a lot easier to understand yourself when you're looking at it through a third person perspective. How it's always easier to give someone else advice that you wouldn't take yourself. It's much the same thing. So when you're crafting these stories and you're doing this reflection with your characters, you're actually trying to teach yourself at the same time, and I think that's very valuable, especially when it comes to developing well-rounded characters that are realistic with real world problems, because you're putting yourself in there, and that's beautiful. I love it.
Yes.
So then as we are slowly wrapping up here, you have been a teacher, you love teaching, you love supporting, you are huge when it comes to spreading hope and love across the internet, and you are a very amazing person to interact with online, and I've enjoyed getting to know you over the past couple months since we've started. You are definitely a friend, and I adore you. When it comes to that type of thing, what type of advice would you give to authors who are struggling with the acceptance in what they love to do?
The acceptance of they loving writing, or
just because there's a lot of writers that get down on themselves when it comes to their writing, and they have a hard time digging themselves out of that hole. What type of thing would you say to them?
I would say to them that even though writing or any type of art really might seem like the end goal is actually enjoying whatever you do, and if that moment you're not enjoying the process because you don't feel inspired, or you're dealing with some type of mental health or outside things, it's okay. It's gonna come back to you. burnout is something very serious, and it can come in inside your home, inside yourself, from many different places. And there's no way to deal with it besides being kind, besides understanding, relying on others, talking about it, and knowing that you've made art before, right? You've been artistic before. You've written, so it's gonna come back. Like, there's no way it's gone. It's just dormant because other things are on top of it. So it is frustrating. Yes, it is. Is it sad? Definitely. But try to focus on what you enjoy at the moment, and that joyful thing probably will spark the creativity again. And yeah, be kind. We all been there.
I literally could not have said that better. That was absolutely it was the perfect send-off message for people, because I 100% agree. It will never leave you. Creativity is always going to be there. It's just, it gets buried under real life and stresses, and you take priority. You can't create if you yourself are not in a place to create.
Definitely.
So, love it. Okay, so where can everybody find you?
Nowhere.
She's gone.
Don't find me. Well, I mean, you can find my books in Amazon, as you well said. My complete name, I guess, is going to be in the podcast or whatever, but as you know, it's Macarena, and my last name is Matrajt, so I'm not going to spell that. If you find me, you find me. It was meant to be. But you can find my books on Amazon, and of course, I'm a very social media type of person, and you can find me on Instagram and Threads by the handle The Real Booty Fairy.
And that's literally what, if we're talking, we just did you see what Fairy posted? You are Fairy.
I am.
You are.
This is me.
and I would have you no other way, because you are just an awesome person and a delight to talk to. This has been amazing. You're so eloquent and fun and engaging, and I've loved this. I definitely have. All the links for the Amazon books will be down below in the description for everyone, because you should go and buy them all. Because I said so, and because they're amazing. I know I'm buying them all. So, So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And we will definitely talk again soon with whatever you come up with next. Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
Having you on for the screenwriting roundtable, I think, would be a lot of fun.
Oh.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, let's do it. Let's just.
I'll
Send me the
talk to you
link.
about that one later, because there's going to be a good filmmaking one with directors, writers, and all of that. I think that'll be good. We'll get you in there.
Perfect.
And okay. So we'll say goodbye here, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes. Bye, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mac, for sharing your incredible insights and journeys with us today. Be sure to check out all their work on Instagram and Threads. Over on Amazon, pick up their books. Don't forget to explore our merch, including the new Inks and Lattes gear at shop.creativecoffeecafe.com. And as always, thank you for listening. Stay creative, stay inspired. And until next time, see ya.